Here are some scary words. E-commerce, online transaction, internet purchase.
Ah yes, next gen. Everybody loves next gen. I can't wait for next gen. There's a lot to look forward to with the new generation of video games, such as learning release dates and prices of next-gen consoles. But I think what everybody is more excited about than anything else is Microsoft's new Quadruple A Studio. Oh yes, no more Triple A. It's all about Quadruple A! Quadruple A! It's a real thing that they're saying without embarrassment! Quadruple A! Because Triple A just wasn't fucking awful enough! Fuck off. It's been a rough year, hasn't it? Just not a particularly pleasant year all round, huh? A global pandemic, economic collapse, an increasingly shameless police brutality problem, and while our futures have been dissected and cashed in by a handful of incredibly wealthy, plutocratic, capitalistic cronies, Jeff Bezos just became worth over $200 billion, and he still hasn't given me that £1 million he owes me. Many have turned, as many so often do, to entertainment media as a form of escapism, and video games are of course one of the chief ways we've been spending time during an ongoing quarantine. A primary method of just forgetting all the absolute fucking horror going on around us. Unfortunately, the games business has itself been drenched in disaster for the duration of 2020 as well. From GameStop forcing its workers to expose themselves to COVID-19 risk, to an ongoing but much needed barrage of abuse allegations across the business, to the usual AAA bullshit that seeps into every gaming year, but has felt especially unnecessarily disappointing in a year where we really don't need more awfulness than we already got, thanks. And I realise that I've not helped by the very nature of this show, and the majority of the work on this algorithmically ruined channel. We relentlessly shine a light on the grim and seedy underbelly of an industry that can't just make games and sell games without finding endless ways to exploit, swindle, mistreat, and actively harm both the people who play and make video games. Even in a year where people aren't dying by the hundreds of thousands, even in a year where we don't still have a general election to look forward to, Jesus fucking Christ. It can be rough to follow the business side of video games. Seeing how the sausage is made ain't ever pleasant. No sooner are you done talking about how corporations are divvying up Marvel's Avengers to turn a promising game into a cynically homogenized cash grab, than you're chatting about Epic and Apple fighting over who can inflict as much collateral damage on gaming as possible, all before you discuss Activision's latest plan to keep its workers scarcely above survivability while its CEO funnels another $40 million into his bank account. The very fact this part of the video was meant to be a couple sentences and I still can't stop lamenting how truly fucked up everything is, speaks volumes about the current inability of this show to provide even a fraction of escapism or levity. But we persist. People don't want to hear it, and people don't want to think about the horrible things happening behind the games they want to buy, but we persist. YouTube as a platform is downright suppressing what we talk about, especially recently, but we persist. You know, it's not all bad, genuinely. There are some bright spots, certainly for me this year. Just a few weeks ago, after dancing around the issue, sometimes on this very show, I actually finally officially came out as non-binary, pansexual, gender trash. And that's been very wholesome and very good for me, and very wholesome and good for me, and not at all ethically questionable. Craig, this is Revlon. Craig, you bloody incompetent ass candle! And lipstick under the eyes of rabbits, you prick! I threw that right at me Ganondorf on the wall. That's rough. That's yeah, that'll dent it for sure. Fuck. Oh well, My Lord Humongous is still alright. Anyway, the point is that every now and then we do have some bright spots to talk about, like Sony's latest turn toward the altruistic. And really, the generosity in this particular instance is off the charts. See, like many Americans, I find myself wondering exactly what, if any, financial stability can be salvaged at the end of this year. Not that calendar dates are anything but arbitrary markers, so the end of this year won't actually change anything. Just stop thinking about that. The year will end and everything will be great, except for the recession. But with such likelihood of a full-on devastating financial recession, with the stock market fragile and the job market completely ruined, with so many people struggling to make ends meet and so much available money funneled up and hoarded by men like Jeff Bezos who owe me £1 million, the question on everybody's lips is this: will Sony allow me the opportunity to apply for a chance at giving Sony my money? And the answer is, fuck yes! Woo! Fuck yes it will! Oh yes, at long last we finally have some tangible purchasing details for the PlayStation 5 that is coming out, Greg, when's it coming out? This year! 2020, it's coming out in 2020, this year. No, we don't actually have a release date for the system, which I reiterate is out in a matter of mere months. No, we don't have a price for the system, which I cannot emphasize enough will be on sale before this year's inevitably depressing fucking holidays. But what we do have, and prepare to feel your entire genital territory inflame with swampy passion, is a chance to ask Sony permission to allow us to pre-order the PlayStation 5 from Sony. According to Sony, the PlayStation 5 will only be available in limited quantities, which isn't all that surprising when you remember that we're in the middle of a global pandemic that has impacted businesses at every level, except the absolute very top level, where billionaires are still becoming richer than they've ever been. Somehow. If you want to guarantee getting your hands on the console in time for Christmas, well, tough shit. There is no guarantee here, fool, but Sony, gripped as it always is by a state of perpetual philanthropy, has you covered as best as it can manage, by letting you apply for the chance to buy something, like you were applying for a job or a small business loan. Hopeful PS5 owners are invited to register their interest online, providing their PSN username in the hopes that Sony will deem them worthy. While the company claims that pre-orders will be available on a first-come, first-served basis, that's not the full truth. Why just sell things to the first people who'll buy them when you can manipulate the narrative around your product by ensuring it gets into the hands of your most loyal, sycophantic, and uncritical fans? Sure, consideration may be available in order of application, but approval? That's a little different. According to Sony's FAQ on the matter, pre-order applicants will be chosen based on previous interests and PlayStation activities. You're being vetted. Basically, Sony is going to give you a background check to see how likely it is that you love PlayStation products, how likely it is that you're already planning on loving the thing before you have it, and is able to pick and choose who's extended an invitation to pre-order based on whatever criteria Sony deems fit. We're in an age of social media after all. Absolutely anybody can be exploited as a means of free marketing these days. Oh, and do please note that I said Sony will extend an invitation to pre-order based on the aforementioned criteria, meaning when you apply to pre-order and Sony approves you for it, you're still not guaranteed a PS5. The invite to pre-order will, itself, be a limited time event and will be good for one system per user ID, along with up to 2 whole controllers. And so it is that the next generation starts, not with a bang, but with customers auditioning to buy things. This is, of course, just a continuation of what capitalism has become. It's not about making things that customers want, it's about telling customers what they want and making them debase themselves to get it. Whether you're trying to rent an apartment or buy a vehicle, these days it's the customer who has to prove they are worthy of the opportunity to spend the money they had to prove they were worthy enough to earn in the first place. Supply and demand is no longer an effective way for companies to capitalize. Do you think they care about what you demand? Do you think you as a customer have demands anymore? No. It's now all about supply and asking nicely. Supply and waiting for credit checks. supply and predestined distinctions between who has and who hasn't. Sony will of course not be the only place you can obtain a PS5. Other retailers would love to sell you a PS5, it's just they can't tell you how they can do it yet. So all we've got to go on right now is Sony's scheme, which appears to be some sort of snapshot of a future publisher heaven, where they control not only the supply, but the demand. And all in a roundabout arbitrary way that contributes to the overall confusopoly of the game industry that we've criticised many times before. Once again, this industry can't just make and sell products. Everything now has to have a fucking walkthrough.
Gosh.
Anyway, how much does the PS5 cost? When is the PS5 actually fucking coming out? Who knows? We just know it's this year and that it will cost some money. Wow, really feels like we're about to dive into a new generation of the gaming, am I right, fellow the gamers? Fucking hell. I mean, fucking hell though. We're still doing this, are we, video games? We're still going to insist on pushing out a console generation this year. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are lots of less financially well-off people looking forward to the Xbox Series X and PS5 because it means the Xbox One and PS4 are about to bloody become affordable. But as for the industry itself, I just think it's very brave? Yeah, sure, let's go with brave. It's very brave to see them committed to pushing out expensive luxury hardware during a sickness-based economic collapse. It's especially bold when you remember that the console launches are themselves pretty troubled already. The marquee launch title of the Xbox Series X has been delayed to 2021, as Halo Infinite misses the opening window of the system despite being by far the most heavily pushed and recognizable item Microsoft has for it. It doesn't help that people were already skeptical of Halo Infinite, criticizing its graphics and predicting a dual launch on Xbox One would ensure a lack of next-gen feel. Many of the titles, in fact, will simply be upgraded versions of current-gen titles or cross-released PC games. Other high-profile launch titles such as Deathloop have been delayed as a direct result of the coronavirus pandemic and ongoing quarantine measures. New generation launch libraries are notoriously shit, always have been, but even by historical standards, the meagre assortment of mildly interesting games available for PS5 and Xbox Series X is looking fucking dreadful. But hey, at least the PS5 has bug snacks, right? Bug snacks! Oh yeah, so does the PS4. Christ, PS5 doesn't even have an exclusive on the obligatory joke launch game. Fortunately, thanks to programs like Smart Delivery, all of those upgraded current-gen titles will provide clearly communicated free upgrade paths for next-gen buyers, providing an instant incentive to ignore their mounting health debts and plunk down the cash for a new platform. Except, of course, for those games that don't have clearly communicated free upgrade paths. Control, for example, is re-releasing itself as a new game, and it's the only version that can be upgraded, meaning existing Control owners will have to buy it again because fuck them, right? Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War will allow PS4 and Xbox One players the privilege of spending another $10 to upgrade the game on PS5 and Series X, but only if they bought it digitally, because these days you need FAQs and walkthroughs and guides to buy anything. You have to pay the $10 because it costs $10 more on PS5 and Xbox Series X. Activision has joined 2K Games in normalizing the idea that next-gen games cost $70 now, as standard. An extra little dollop of shit dropped onto the heads of a population that right now, by and large, has no fucking money. The $10 price hike is, of course, alongside the microtransactions and DLC and season passes and loot boxes and multiple special editions and collector's editions and merch and sponsorship deals and product placements and tax avoidances and tax breaks and tax refunds and underpaid staff and routine layoffs that have contributed billions of dollars to an industry that claims it can't afford to just make and sell the product. It's explicitly in the business of making and selling. So anyway, because ain't nobody gonna give me a review version of these consoles because they don't like me, what I mean to say is that I applied for an invitation to pre-order a PS5 so I can try and get one for work, and I will be rejected. Because I will not be deemed worthy enough to buy a PlayStation 5.
I've been told by people who actually are good at business that I should do some more self-promotion. It's been a while since we've done that, so patreon.com/Jimquisition. If you want to support this show, you don't have to. You're very, very welcome if you do. We do Twitch streaming now, Twitch TV/Jimquisition. It's quite easy to remember all this, isn't it? So you can go on there. We do some live streams like a couple times a week. And Saturday, September 5th, if you go to Twitch TV Go Professional Wrestling, although I should be hosting it on my channel as well. I will be there as the super heavyweight supervillain Sterling, my celestial alter ego, where we will be at the Poly Cult Party, a wrestling event in Pittsburgh that will be broadcast live, and I can't bloody wait. Just like I can't wait for the next generation of consoles, which I'm not good enough to have. Thank God for me. A little bit smudged.